You're watching Behind the Headlines. I'm Pacchia. Last month, the SEC issued subpoenas to law firm Greenberg Traurig as part of an investigation into the firm's political intelligence business. Given the number of law firms entering this type of business in recent years, some are beginning to wonder what this investigation means for the rest of big law. Joining me now from Washington, D.C., we have government ethics expert Robert Walker. He's from the law firm of Wiley Rein. Robert was formerly a chief counsel and staff director for both the Senate and House Ethics Committees. Welcome, sir. Thanks for joining us today.
Sure. Thank you for having me.
Let's start off with some definitions here. What exactly does it mean when we say a law firm is in the political intelligence business?
Well, that's maybe a more difficult question than you would think. I mean, the short answer and common sense answer to what political intelligence is and what it means is information about what's going to happen in Washington, who's going to do it, and when's it going to happen. But the Government Accountability Office, which recently issued a report that it had been in the making for about a year, concluded that it can't really determine what political intelligence is, and there are problematic concerns about how it should be defined. Having said that, when you talk about a law firm engaged in political intelligence activities or consulting, that really means typically a law firm that may also have a lobbying practice or government relations group as part of the firm, which in addition to conducting lobbying activity, may gather information about prospective occurrences by the government, prospective developments and happenings, and may then be, as part of their business, may then be selling that information to investment entities and firms.
Is the market for political intelligence providing a significant stream of revenue for law firms today? And if so, how quickly is it growing?
Well, I would have to say again, there is very little firm quantitative information about that. One thing that can be said is it does seem to be an area that is growing, but let me give you kind of the range of approaches to that question. In 2005, there was an estimate in the Hill newspaper that political intelligence activities by firms engaged in that practice, primarily lobbying firms, was in the range of a $30 to $40 million market.
Wow.
Obviously, and that's a number of years ago, obviously that would have grown substantially. On the other hand, going back to the Government Accountability Office's study, they said quite clearly that despite a year of efforts, they found it difficult and, as a practical matter, impossible to quantify the prevalence of political intelligence activities.
Yeah, it's a fascinating space. Let's turn to the Greenberg Traurig situation for a moment. Why is their foray into political intelligence under so much scrutiny today?
Well, the specifics of that situation, as reported in the press, are that it appears that Greenberg Traurig had an individual engaged in lobbying activities for a client of the firm, and this again is based on reports in the press, engaged in lobbying activities for the Humana health insurance entity, while at the same time this individual engaged in lobbying activities was also, and I think this depends on who you speak with and how you characterize it, I should say may also have been engaged in political intelligence activities. And so what occurred was that on April 1st, there was a change in a government decision affecting Humana and a number of other insurers, a change that was beneficial to those entities. And the government entity that announced the change in this program, the Centers for Medicare and Medicaid Services, announced this change in policy shortly after the close of trading on April 1st. However, about a half hour before, or perhaps as few as 18 minutes before the close of trading on that day, there was a big spike in trading activity in Humana and other health insurance entities. And this appears to have been based, or is allegedly based, on a release by the Height Securities firm, which indicated that this change in policy, this beneficial change in policy, was going to be forthcoming. And it appears as if the Greenberg Traurig lobbyist for Humana had communications with an analyst at Height Securities in which he, and it appears he was among many other sources for Height Securities, provided some information with respect to this change in policy. But it appears as if, in this case, Greenberg Traurig may have been providing lobbying services to Humana, but then also providing information that was relevant to the securities of Humana under the, in the avenue of what may appear to be political intelligence gathering and sale activity.
Right, and I think they're leaving the space as a result. Is that true?
Greenberg Traurig has announced that they are no longer going to be providing lobbying services to political intelligence firms. And it appears to be Greenberg Traurig's view that it was Height Securities that was engaging in the political intelligence consulting and providing activities, as opposed to Greenberg Traurig. So that is, obviously, there is some area of disagreement there as to exactly what happened, and I'm speaking about what has been reported in the press and based on that only.
Right. So taking a look at this rather complicated issue, what statutes do firms like Greenberg Traurig, who have these kinds of practice groups, need to be most concerned about? Is it insider trading laws, attorney ethics codes, something else perhaps?
Well, I think it's both of those, yes. You know, the sale of political intelligence, the gathering of information from government offices, whether executive branch or legislative branch offices, now clear, and the use of that information in a trading context now clearly may bring with it, if the information being used is material and non-public information, may now clearly bring with it concerns as to whether there might have been insider trading. That's because with the passage of the Stock Act and the signing into law of the Stock Act last April in 2012, it is now clear that federal government officials have a duty of trust and confidence both to their government employers and to the American people with respect to material non-public information that they obtain through their official duties. So that if those government officials then provide that information, material non-public information, to individuals who trade on it or provide it to others who trade on it, there may be a tipper-tippee liability depending on the facts. And so this is a concern. And it has always been a concern, but the Stock Act made it quite clear that this could be a concern. So there is that concern. That is why you see the SEC apparently engaged in investigating the facts that we've already covered here today. But there could also be attorney ethics concerns, as you've mentioned, with respect to perhaps not so much a kind of classic conflict of interest with respect to undertaking matters for one client that are adverse to another client, but perhaps more with respect to conflicts based on client perception, client concern, client relation, as to whether or not attorneys may engage in both lobbying and the practice of selling political intelligence information. Concern is whether as to where their efforts might really be taking them, and whether they can undertake those efforts in a conflict-free manner. And again, there I'm speaking generally about firms engaged in these activities.
No, this is certainly complicated stuff, and I would imagine it has the attention of a lot of managing partners, certainly in the Washington, D.C. area. Robert Walker from Wiley Rein, thank you so much for your time today, sir.
Thank you for having me.
If you'd like to learn more about the cases and issues we just ran through, be sure to go check out our offerings on BloombergLaw.com and also on the Bloomberg Terminal. You can see more of our videos on YouTube, and of course you can follow our updates on Twitter. I'm Lee Pacchia. Thanks for watching.